Okay, let's dive into this dark and twisting story, The Inheritance of Shadows. We're talking about a tale of secrets, betrayal, and a legacy that, well, it just refuses to stay buried. So the whole thing kicks off with this incredibly ominous invitation, and it's sent to a man named Gabriel, who, get this, fled Blackthorn Manor 20 years ago with blood on his hands. He thought his past was buried, but, well, in the Ashford family, the dead rarely stay that way. So, this invitation, it basically yanks Gabriel right back into this gothic estate that, well, it tastes like poison. And you've got this whole group of estranged relatives and, acquaintances all gathering for a will reading. But this isn't about mourning. Oh no. This is about settling some old scores. And here they are, the whole cast of characters, all drawn into Vivian Ashford's web. Now, what's really interesting here is that every single one of them is a suspect. They all have some dark connection to the deceased. We're talking scorned lovers, a resentful brother, a mysterious long-lost daughter, you name it. Basically, everyone in this room has a reason to want Vivian gone. So the will reading turns deadly almost immediately. I mean, the lights go out, and when they come back on, the lawyer is dead. And then there's a message scrawled on the wall in blood. Just like that, they're all trapped in the mansion with a killer, forced to play a twisted game that seems to have been orchestrated by the deceased herself. Now, to really understand the murder happening in the present, we have to jump back, way back, 2 decades. You'll see that the seeds of this bloody night were planted during a summer of lies and some truly impossible choices. So, yeah, this whole deadly night, it really has its roots in a poisonous choice made 20 years ago. See, back then, Gabriel was a poor scholarship student who, well, he found himself caught between 2 very different women at Blackthorn Manor. And this slide really illustrates Gabriel's central conflict, right? On one side, you have Evelyn Turner, the honest painter. She represents warmth, freedom, a real connection. On the other side, Vivian Ashford, the manipulative heiress. She represents power, danger. She's offering him a gilded cage, but at the cost of his soul. So, under immense pressure and, yeah, blackmail, Gabriel makes a devastating choice. He says, "I'm sorry" to Evelyn, and he chooses Vivienne. And that single decision just shatters 3 lives and sets the stage for all the tragedy we're seeing in the present. Okay, so back in the present day, the deadly game is still going on. And as you can imagine, the house is starting to give up its long-held secrets. After all, at Blackthorn Manor, the dead don't stay buried for long. So it turns out the will isn't really about inheritance. It's a weapon. It's designed to expose every guest's darkest secret, disinherit the entire family, and then leave the whole fortune to Vivian's old rival, Evelyn. But here's the twist. Everyone has to survive the night together. If Evelyn refuses, the house ignites. This doesn't make her rich. It makes her the prime target. Then, things get even crazier. A secret passage opens up on the walls, and what do they find? A mummified corpse. It's Sarah Ashford, Marcus's wife, who vanished almost 30 years ago. This just proves that Vivian's cruelty, it was nothing new for this family. And this discovery, it raises a really terrifying question. If Vivian is dead, who is the true puppet master pulling all the strings? Is this all just her posthumous revenge? Or is someone else controlling this entire deadly game? Will the survivors descend into a hidden wine cellar? They're following this strange noise, and they find the answer to that very question. The shocking truth is finally revealed. And what they discover is just way more impossible and horrifying than any of them could have ever imagined. The answer isn't a person from the present, but a ghost from the distant past. So the true villain? It's Victoria Ashford, the family matriarch, born way back in 1892. Turns out she isn't dead. She has used cryogenic technology to live for over a century, waking up every 20 years to rule the family from the shadows. And Victoria reveals everything. She wakes up every 2 decades, manages the Ashford Empire and all its dark secrets, eliminates anyone who threatens her power, including Vivian, and then goes back to sleep. She actually admits she killed her great-granddaughter for growing a conscience, and this entire night has just been a game to eliminate witnesses and install Iris as her new heir. But in one last, final betrayal, Iris refuses to be a pawn. In a bid for her own freedom, she turns on Victoria, destroys the cryogenic coffin, and sets Blackthorn Manor ablaze. sacrificing herself to end the family's curse. So as the manor burns, the survivors escape. But the story isn't over. The question now is, can they escape the shadows they inherited? In the aftermath, the survivors choose not to perpetuate the cycle of silence and revenge. They tell a modified story to the police, the Ashford Empire gets dismantled, and its wealth is given to charity. And then Iris's secret will surfaces, providing proof of all the family's crimes. Evelyn publishes the truth, not for revenge, but as a warning, while she and Gabriel slowly begin to heal and rebuild. And that really sums up their new purpose. As Gabriel says, let's see what we can build from the ruins, yeah? They choose to build something hopeful from the wreckage of their past. Ultimately, this story leaves us with a really powerful question. How do we escape the shadows we inherit? And I think the answer it gives us is that it's not our inherited trauma that defines us, but the choices we make to step out of the darkness and into the light.